Welcome to Unity Let's Go! My first project, local versus world. Local position versus world position is good to know, and it'll actually catch you a number of times. So in the case of, say, let's go to our hierarchy window, and we'll do a right click and say 3D object, and let's create a cube. Normally, whenever an object is created, it's kind of placed in front of the camera, and say we want to place it in the middle of the world. We can go to transform. So all objects have a transform, and that's made up of the position, the rotation, and scale. And if we highlight over top of these, then we can see that the local position of the game object is represented in this transform. So let's go ahead to transform, right click, and hit reset. And this is going to be our world positions 000, or our world origin. Now, if we were to go over to our cube and say right click and create a 3D object sphere, which we can automatically just scroll over a little bit and increase so we can see it. We can see that over in our hierarchy, it's a child of the cube. We can also grab it and drag it out of there, and it's no longer a child of the cube. But if we drag it on top of the cube, then it is now a child of the cube, and the cube is the sphere's parent. If we hit W to go into the move tool, we can see that as we move the cube, its position in the transform is no longer 000. So you would think that the position for the sphere would also not be 000, but because it's a child of the cube, its local position is actually 000. Versus its world position would actually be similar to the cube, where it would be -0.2 and -13. So if we were to actually take it outside of the cube, then now that position would be more representative of its world position. But again, if we take the sphere and drop it back into the cube, then its local position, which is what's represented in the transform, is now back to 000. So that is the difference between world position and local position. Now, say another sort of local versus world is the toggle tool handle rotation. Currently it's in global, but we can also go to local. So say we were to take our sphere and we were to rotate it, and then we hit W to go into our gizmo mode, or our manipulator mode. We can see that its manipulator is at this like weird angle, and that's because it's now referencing its local rotation. But if we only want to see its global rotation, we can go back up here and see global, and now we get something that is more relative to the overarching world. I'm going to hit R, and I'm going to shrink this down a little bit, and I'm going to use the cube now. So the cube will be rotated a little bit, and we can see that its world manipulator is now in line with the world Y, the world Z, and the world X. And we can see that with this overarching gizmo up here, which gives us our X, our Z, and our Y. If we wanted to see its individual or local rotation again, then we could go back up here to local. And now we can see the manipulator can be moved along the local x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Just a little helpful thing, I remember the colors and the axes by RGB. So R is equivalent to XYZ. R, X, Y, G, and Z is B. RGB. Hotkeys. So if we hit our Z and our X is the hotkey for swapping between our global and our local. Z is for pivots. Let's go ahead and reset that. We can either reset the whole thing, or we can reset its rotation individually. We go to the transform, right click, and then say reset property rotation. So now it's kept its position and its scale, but its rotation is now 000. Let's take our sphere and move it out here. Normally, if we were to rotate the cube, you would think that it would rotate around its own origin, and that's because its pivot point is set to pivot. But if we were to go to center, then it would now calculate all of the components that are part of the object, its children included, and then decide the pivot point based off of the center of it. So say we took the sphere and we duplicated it and we dragged it over here, then our center would be closer to the center of all of these objects. There we go. Again, to get out of this, we can hit Z, and that will pop us back to our local pivot. And now if we rotate and we hit our W and we say want to just see the local rotation of the cube, we would hit X for the hotkey, X to pop us back into world. That's it for this lesson. Hope it was helpful, and I'll check you later. If you like this content and would like to see more, consider supporting us on Patreon or one of these supported platforms.